What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is the driving tone segment that we've been doing every week. Usually I put them out on Fridays, but we had another video come out yesterday, so today's Saturday. I'm gonna go run an errand, and we're going to answer a question that came out of the comment section of one of these videos. If you have a question that you want a little deep dive on, put it in the comment section of this video and we will answer it in the next one. That's how this works. I pick them out of the comment section of this video for the next one. So here we go. This is Rick wants to know, what is the average max gauge strength for the Alnicos 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 and any others, and ceramics? What's the deal with unoriented? I see lots of conflicting info over this. Can't pin it down. Could or should magnet swaps be made a more standardized mod option? Thanks for sharing your experience. All right, Rick, this is a good question. So first of all, let's talk about the magnet gauge. That you can't really put a number on it. I know you don't want to hear that answer, but it's tough to put a number on it because the quality of the magnets matter. So if you take magnets out of a cheap set of pickups and then you measure those and then you try another set of pickups, they might measure differently. A5s, and here's the other thing, is the length of the magnet matters and the size of the magnet matters. So if you measure a 650 thousandths long Alnico 5 187 rod, it might measure, let's say 1100, maybe something like that. And then if you measure a 688 magnet or a 710, it might measure 13. So you can't really make a determination on the strength of the magnet across the board. So then the other thing is, you'll measure an A5 humbucker magnet on the edge where you're supposed to measure it, and that might be, I don't know, 850, 900, something like that. So it's less than a rod magnet that's thinner and taller. So there's really no right answer. So what you have to do is you have to pick the quality of magnets that you're going to use when you're designing a pickup. You have to be consistent about where you get them from. And then you have to work on percentages. So like, if this is, a particular strength per size, then you'll go, okay, well then if this is what my A5 is, then I want my A8s to be right in this range or whatever. And so you'll have to adjust more than just the strength of the magnet, but the sizes, the lengths, all that kind of stuff, it all matters. This is why, for example, in the 60s, when they were doing a lot of staggered pole piece stuff to make up for, the string types that they were using. So the reason there were staggered pole pieces in the 60s is because we had weird, round G's, and the quality of strings wasn't the same as it is now. And so that's why you needed that for stronger, weaker, etc. And the length of the magnet wasn't necessarily about the distance. Partially it was about the distance, but a lot of it really was about the strength of the magnet as it got longer or shorter. So that's that part of the question. The next part of the question is unoriented versus oriented. You know what? We're gonna leave that one. Could or should magnet swaps be more of a modding thing? The answer is no. Because there is risk. I would not recommend it to people who are not skilled. Now, if you feel relatively skilled and comfortable at doing your mods on your guitar, you might want to do it. But here's the problem. On a wax potted pickup, once you disassemble it and take the magnet out, you have to re-wax the pickup. Sometimes you can just put it back together. If there's enough wax in there, You can put it back together and just hit it with a blow dryer, get it real hot, and it will work. Other times you have to do more than that, and so you might have to actually repot the pickup. If you take the magnet out and you put it back in and things are loose, then you could end up with squealing and all kinds of weird stuff. So I don't personally recommend doing that. It's a bit of an invasive thing for most folks. I'm not saying nobody should do it. I'm saying if you feel skilled, just understand that there's a risk to that. Skilled enough to do it. There's a risk to that, but it's not something that I would put as a, hey, everybody should just try this and rip their magnets apart, rip their pickups apart and pull their magnets out. I wouldn't list that as a standard mod. It's not something that I would do. Oh, somebody's getting pulled over. All right, next one. This is a big one. And this is what we want to talk about. What's the deal with unoriented? I see lots of conflicting info over this. I can't pin it down. Okay. This is an interesting one. Unoriented versus oriented basically means that a magnet, so most magnets that we see in guitars are sand cast, which basically means that they are, they're sand cast. They're literally poured into sand and then they're cut into pieces and then polished, or not. Sometimes they're rough cast. Either way, unoriented magnets are basically, it doesn't matter how you magnetize the magnet. Oriented magnets are such that they prefer, so if like let's say you take a rod and you magnetize it, an oriented magnet prefers that one end, because of the way the grain structures are laid in the magnet. So you've got all these metal fibers. They start basically out as a powder, and then they become, that's not exactly true, but sort of. Anyway, the fibers in the magnet of all the different alloys lay a certain way, has a grain structure that makes it to where this magnet, if it's oriented, prefers that this end is north and this end is south. And it works better if you do it in that direction. Unoriented magnets are such that the fibers, more or less, it's the wrong term, but the grain structure of the magnet is kind of every which way, and it doesn't matter. You can go every which way. And on both magnets, you can go either way. It doesn't matter. It's just that an oriented magnet sort of prefers that. Now, the reason you're hearing conflicting things about it is because most people can't tell the difference. Yes, if you look at technical specs on a data sheet, an oriented magnet can be stronger per size, diameter, that sort of stuff. But is stronger what you want? Not necessarily. Anything in guitar tone where somebody is arguing about whether it makes a difference or not automatically means that it doesn't really make a difference. On a data sheet is one thing, but can you hear the difference? Can you? Maybe you can. Maybe I can't. Maybe if you put it in a room full of people, maybe these people think one thing, these people think another. That doesn't necessarily mean that the data is incorrect. Like, the data is the data. You look at unoriented versus oriented magnets, and the science says there's a difference. The reason there's an argument about it, or there is conflicting whatever about it, is because in practical terms, in real life, for most people, I could tell you one thing and it could be another, and you'd never know the difference. So this happens all the time in guitar tone. People are like, how much does it make a difference? Well, if I'm in a vacuum, I'm in a barometric chamber with headphones and I can't hear anything, and I'm in this completely sterile environment and my dog's not barking, I can kind of hear a difference, maybe. And then you put another person in that same sterile environment and they're like, oh yeah, I could totally tell a difference, bro. And then another person's like, nope, I can't tell a difference at all. You take them out of that and put them in a normal environment, like listening to it on your freaking iPhone, you can't tell the difference. So the problem is that most people want to take a, let's see, yep, this is me. They want to take a data sheet, and because it's on a data sheet, they want to apply it to real life in all circumstances. Just like at the beginning of this conversation, we had the magnet strength thing. Well, we obviously, this A3 magnet and this A5 magnet, what if they measure the same? Is it because maybe it's a different size? Maybe it's because it's been magnetized differently. There's so many variables. So what I do is I establish a standard in my shop. I want all of my A5 magnets to be in this range. And I'm not going to tell you what they are because that's what I do. All these magnets, I want them to be this percentage different, right? Like that's, you design things not in a vacuum. You design things in real life. And so, if you get on a forum and somebody says, well, my oriented magnets are better, that makes these pickups better. Does it though? Like, if my pickups have unoriented magnets, I'll tell you they do. Some of them do. They sound amazing, right? We make the best P90s in the world. They friggin' sound amazing, and they're unoriented magnets. If it sounds good, it is good. If you've designed to it with that feature in mind, then it is good. So there's no necessity of argument or conversation even about this versus that. Now, if you're on the engineering side, if you are a person, so this is what I'm saying, 99% of people on the internet, this should not matter to you. Either it sounds good or it doesn't. Either you like how it sounds or it doesn't. It should not even matter for a purchasing decision. It should not be in the spec sheet. You should go, well, that doesn't have oriented magnets, therefore I'm not going to buy it. Because you're not an engineer. On the engineering side of it, I may say, okay, I want to design this pickup and I'm this close to what I want. If I switch strength of magnet a little bit, does it get me closer or does it get me further away? If I change from oriented to unoriented, does it move me where I want it to be? Oh, it does. So now it matters to me. I go, okay, well now I'm going to make this design choice on the design side. The result to you is the end product that sounds amazing. How I got there doesn't matter in relation to how somebody else gets there. If they do it differently, let's say they get close to, maybe our pickups are very similar in sound, but he has oriented magnets and I don't. Maybe he got there because, or she got there because they used a little different coil shape. They used a little different wire gauge. Maybe they use a little different wind count. Maybe they use something and they ended up using an oriented magnet and I used an unoriented magnet. That doesn't make their pickup better than mine, even if they sound very similar. It's just the design path that you used to get there, right? It's supercharger versus turbocharger, right? Like you're trying to cram air in an engine. So there's gives and takes to everything. But if you end up at the same horsepower number and you end up at the same torque curve and the car drives relatively similar, and it's a preference, right? So I'm a turbo guy. Like I like turbo stuff. That's why I drive this. So, right? So, but it should not, this kind of stuff, anytime, and I'm going to say this, okay? Anytime you are looking at a specification for a guitar, finish, wood, type of magnets, capacitors, pots, anything, and you are trying to have to listen so hard and be in a very specific environment to understand the difference, then it doesn't really matter. If you are trying to use a design, an engineering specification to make that determination that you can barely hear, you're wasting your time on the wrong thing. You just are. Because it literally is a decision-making thing on the design side, not on the consumer side, right? Now, if there's a night and day thing, you might say, okay, I like A3 magnets, I like A5 magnets, I like A8 magnets. Now that's a bigger chunk. That's a bigger swing at the design. But when we're talking unoriented versus oriented, which is only one factor, and the other thing is, if you like A8, A3, A5 magnets, that's not the only factor in a pickup design. So if you don't really know what you're talking about, you can make the wrong decision even then because of all these other factors in the pickup. So, in the end, either you like it or you don't. Listen to it. If you like it, buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Who cares how it's made? Who cares what it's made of? Who cares any of it? That goes for any of the stuff in the guitar. If you like it, buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it. End of story. There you go. If you want to deep dive into any of the stuff that we talk about on this channel, if this makes you think of a question, if you have another question that has nothing to do with this question today, put it in the comments. I will check the comments section next time, and I will put it in a video. Maybe. Hit the like button, the subscribe button. We'll do this probably every day. Every week. We make videos every day, and we post them every week. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you in the next one.